Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to learn how to make this highly requested for video tutorial of the Alpine Butterfly top with these mesh sleeves. So the mesh pattern has a very detailed and intricate design that you will learn how to make in this video, and this was the top that was matched up with our Ruffle Crochet Mini Skirt. If you remember from last year but one, I released a tutorial of the Ruffle Mini Skirt that can be matched up perfectly well with this particular top. And as you've seen at the beginning of the video, that was the match in white. Today we're going to learn how to make this beautiful top in this, I'll be demonstrating the Alpine Butterfly top without the sleeves using the burnt orange color, and then the sleeves using this particular color, and then we shall introduce the actual color that matches the sleeves and attach sleeves onto that the Alpine Butterfly top. So for the materials, I used a 3.5mm crochet hook, and then the yarn that I'm using for this particular design is Winter King for the Alpine Butterfly top in burnt orange. I used a DK weight yarn for the actual piece, but for this one I had 2 strands of fingering weight yarn, so I doubled my strand and I managed to make this beautiful piece. So if you have a DK weight yarn, there's no need to double your strand, but if you have a very thin yarn, then you will consider doubling your strand so that you can get a good thickness in order to work the Alpine Butterfly crochet top. And then when it comes to the sleeves, I went for a single strand. That's the reason why you're seeing that the sleeves are very lightweight. This is more like a fingering weight yarn, so it creates a very lightweight look which is suitable for sleeves. As you can see here, the pattern is really beautiful and perfect for this particular design. So when it comes to the yarn details, I used approximately 1,200 yards total, including the single strand for the sleeves and then the double strand for the top. A total of about 4 balls of fingering weight yarn, which is seagull, double strand for the body of the top and single strand for the sleeves. Now when it comes to the people using DK weight yarn, you will consider 1,200 yards as well. I know why I'm saying that, because I have done the calculations for a person who will be using 1 strand all through. So you also need 1,200 yards approximately to make this top. And yeah, I guess you will also need maybe some stitch markers, a pair of scissors, a measuring tape, and a darning needle to weave in your ends. And that's basically it. Let's dive right into the video. As I had mentioned earlier on, for demonstration purposes, I will be using the burnt orange color for the butterfly crochet top. So let's get started. If you would like the written pattern, it's already available on all my online shops, because I know this pattern or this tutorial is going to take a while. It's quite long, so if you would like to grab a copy of the written pattern, it's already available on all my online shops. So you can find all the links in the description box below. Thank you. The sizes going to be demonstrated for this design are extra small, small, medium, large, extra large, and 2XL. So that's where I will stop for this design, and it's just a little tweak that we have to make as we go along, as I'll mention in the video, and you'll be able to get different fittings depending on the size that you're making for. So extra small to 2XL, those are the sizes that are going to be demonstrated for this design. Alright, so we're going to start off with a slip knot. I have my laptop here. I'll be referring to the written pattern so that in case someone purchases the pattern, they can follow along with the video easily. So we're starting off with a slip knot. So I'm going to make my slip knot. And I'm going to make a chain of 4 So we're starting off with the middle body of the butterfly. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So when you have your 4 chains, you're going to go into the very first chain that you made, and you're going to work a total of 3 double crochets into the very first chain. So yarn over, insert your hook, pull up a loop. You'll have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And then this is the second one, and then this is the third double crochet. So this marks the end of row 1 of the middle body of the butterfly. So we're going on to row 2. You're going to make a chain of 3, turn your work, and place 1 double crochet in each of the next 3 double crochets. So the chain 3 at the beginning of the previous row counts as a double crochet. So you yarn over, go into the next stitch with 1 double crochet, 1 double crochet into the next, and 1 double crochet into the last stitch. You should be having a total of 4 double crochets at this point. So let's go on to row 3. For row 3, you're going to repeat row 2. So you're just going to make a chain of 3, turn your work, place 1 double crochet in each of the next 3 double crochets. Don't forget to go on top of the chain 3 because it counts as a stitch. This is what you'll have. So let's go on to row 4. For row 4, you're going to make a chain of 3, turn your work, place 1 double crochet in the same stitch as the chain 3 here. And then you're going to place 1 double crochet in each of the next 2 stitches, 1 double crochet in the next and 1 double crochet in the next. That leaves us with only 1 double crochet, and into the last one you're going to place 2 double crochets, which will create an increase. So 2 double crochets in the last stitch. This will bring us to a total of 6 double crochets if we count the chain 3 as a stitch. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So we're going on to row 5. We're going to repeat row 4. So you're going to make a chain of 3, turn your work, create an increase at the beginning of the row by placing 1 double crochet into the same stitch, and then 1 double crochet in each of the next stitches until you have 1 stitch left on your row. And then into the last stitch, which is the chain 3, you're going to go on top of it and place 2 double crochets, and this will bring us to a total of 8 double crochets. Now let's go on to row 6, and we're going to repeat the same exact thing. We're going to create an increase at the beginning. So you're going to chain 3, turn your work, place 1 double crochet into the same exact stitch, 1 double crochet in each of the next stitches until the second last stitch. And then into the last stitch, which is the top of the chain 3, you're going to place 2 double crochets, and that will create an increase at the end of the row as well. So this will bring us to a total of 10 double crochets for row 6. Make sure you cross check your stitches. So we are done with row 6. Row 7, you're going to make a chain of 1. We're going to switch it up a bit. Make a chain of 1 and turn your work, and slip stitch 3 times. So into the first stitch, you're going to insert your hook and then pull through. That's the first slip stitch. Go into the next stitch and slip stitch, and then go into the next stitch and slip stitch. So we have a total of 3 slip stitches into the first 3 stitches. Then you're going to make a chain of 3 and work 1 double crochet in each of the next 4 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. So this will bring us to a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 stitches. All right, so we are on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So for row 8, you're going to make a chain of 3, turn your work, place 1 double crochet in each of the next 4 stitches. So start with this one, double crochet into the next stitch, double crochet into the next stitch, and then double crochet on top of the last chain 3. Make sure you always find that top chain. Sometimes it's hard to get into, but make sure you find it and go into it with a double crochet. So this marks the end of the middle body of the butterfly, and from here we're going to make our antenna that are going to act as straps. So you're going to make a chain of 150, anywhere in between 100 and 150. So if you find 150 a little long for you, you can go for 100 or 120. So let me just go ahead and make my chain. 1, 2, 3. All right, when you have your desired number of chains for your strap, I did 150 chains. You're going to cut your yarn and then fasten off. Now you're going to separately make the same exact number of chains. So you start off with a slip knot and make a chain of the same exact number of chains as your very first strap. And when you're through with it, I have 150 chains on this side and 150 chains separately. So I'm going to attach into the top of the chain 3 on this side, on the opposite side of this chain. So into the top of the chain 3, just go there with a slip stitch, just like that. And then you're going to slip stitch into the next stitch, which is the second stitch of the row. Make a chain of 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Slip stitch into the second chain from the hook. So into this one, make a slip stitch, and then slip stitch in each of the next 3 chains. 1, 2. So we're moving back to the body of the butterfly. Okay, something like this. So we've slip stitched all the way back down, and then you're going to slip stitch into the next 2 stitches of row 8. So this is row 8. You're going to slip stitch into the next 2 stitches, and then make a chain of 5. Slip stitch into the second chain from the hook and all the way back down to the body of the butterfly. One, 2, 3, and 4. All right, so once you're done with this, you're going to have these 2 protruding points in the middle of the head of the butterfly, and then you're going to make 1 slip stitch into the last stitch of row 8 where this strap comes from. So into that stitch you're going to make a slip stitch, and then you're going to make a chain of 1 and cut your yarn. So this is how the head of the butterfly, or the middle body of the butterfly, will look like. We shall weave in this tail later on, and it will be as clean as this. We won't be seeing any loose ends. So this is what your work should look like at this point. Now we're going onto the wings of the butterfly that are supposed to create the coverage for our bust and also create that beautiful butterfly look. So as I had mentioned earlier on, I'm following the pattern to the dot, so that if you purchase the pattern, then the tutorial becomes much easier for you. So we are done with the middle body, and we are going to start creating the wings of the butterfly. Alright, so for the wings, we shall be working along the sides of the double crochet rows. So we shall start with one side, and then we shall go onto the second side and do the same exact thing. So start off with a slip knot and attach into the top of row 6. So you're going to count from here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and onto the top of row 6, that's where you're going to attach your yarn. All right, so after attaching your yarn, you're going to make a chain of 3. This counts as a double crochet stitch, and you're going to work 7 double crochets along the side of row 6. So this is row 6. Into that double crochet space, you're going to work a total of 7 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Your stitches may be bunched up, but that's what it's supposed to look like, and it will flatten out later on. So we have our 7 double crochets into row 6, and then you're going to place 7 double crochets into row 5. So this one, the next row, you're going to go into that space with a total of 7 double crochets. 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So we've placed 7 double crochets into row 6 and 7 double crochets into row 5. And if we place our work like this, you should notice that this should be the upper wing of the butterfly, because this is the head. So all these stitches are going to account for the upper wing of this side of the butterfly. And what else should I mention? Yeah, it's made of 15 stitches if the chain 3 is counted as a stitch. So we have the upper wing comprised of 15 stitches. So from here, you're going to make a chain of 1, and then into row 4, which is the next row here, you're going to place 5 double crochets into that row 4. After chaining 1, you can see the chain 1 separates the wings. So 5 double crochets, 3, 4, and 5. And then you're going to place 4 double crochets into row 3. So into the next row here, you're going to place 4 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so as I had mentioned earlier on, the chain 1 separates the upper wing from the lower wing. And the lower wing, that means the lower wing is made of a total of 9 double crochets, the 5 here and the 4 here in the last row. So your work should look like this. It's still a mess, but trust the process. So we are done with this. You can go ahead and place a stitch marker into the chain 1 space to always remember to separate the 2 wings, but I'm not going to do that. If you're very careful, you cannot miss this chain 1 space. So we have 15 stitches for the upper wing and 9 stitches for the lower wing. All right, so let's go on to row 2. This is going to be an increase row. So you're going to make a chain of 1. And as you can see, we are working from the bottom to the top because this is the head of the butterfly. So we're going to make a chain of 1, and then you're going to turn your work. When you turn your work, you're going to place 2 single crochets into the first stitch, 1 and 2 into the very first stitch, and then you're going to place 1 single crochet in each stitch until there is 1 stitch left before the chain 1 space. So go into each of the next stitches with only 1 single crochet, 1, 1, so we are placing 1 single crochet in each and every stitch until we have 1 stitch to the chain 1 space. So we have this 1 stitch here. You're going to place 2 single crochets into that stitch before the chain 1 space. So I've placed my 2 single crochets, chain 1, and then you're going to skip the chain 1 space here and work 2 single crochets into the very first double crochet of the upper wing. So you make a chain of 1 and then place 2 single crochets into the first stitch, then work 1 single crochet in each of the remaining stitches until the second last stitch. All right, so the last stitch is the chain 3. Don't forget that. You're going to go on top of the chain 3 with 2 single crochets, 1 and 2. So this marks the end of row 2 of the butterfly wings, and we've ended on the upper side of the top. Alright guys, so I had to get a stitch marker just to demonstrate the stitch better. I have a bobby pin here. That's because I'm working from home today. I'm not in office, so I don't have so many supplies. So I'm going to put it into the chain 1 space just to mark it and keep track of what's going on. So we're going on to row 3 of the wing. All right, so for row 3, pay close attention because this is going to get a little bit tricky. We're going to start creating the alpine stitch. And a few things to note: the stitches will be worked in this row as well as the row above. So for those who have worked the alpine stitch before, this should be a walkover, but those who haven't, just pay close attention. So you're going to make a chain of 3, turn your work. You're going to create a front post double crochet into the very first double crochet of the double crochet row. So the double crochet row is this one below the single crochet row. So you're going to create a front post double crochet just like that. Just watch what I'm doing. You yarn over and go around the post of the double crochet and then create your double crochet as usual. Just like that. So we've created a front post double crochet into the very first double crochet of the double crochet row below. So from here, you're going to skip 1 stitch on the single crochet row. So this one, we're going to skip 1 stitch on the single crochet row and place 1 double crochet into the next stitch. So skip this one and go into the next stitch with 1 double crochet. Just like that. So we're going to repeat that. You're going to yarn over, skip 1 stitch on the double crochet row, and then front post double crochet into the next. here. That's how we place the front post double crochet, just like that. And then skip one stitch on the single crochet row and double crochet into the next stitch. So it's like we're going down and up, down and up. So we're going to repeat this. Skip one stitch on the double crochet row and place one front post double crochet into the next double crochet. Skip one stitch on the single crochet row and one double crochet into the next stitch. We're going to repeat that until we have two single crochet stitches before the chain one space. So the chain one space is where the stitch marker is. So we are still going front post double crochet in the double crochet row below, skip one stitch on the single crochet row and one double crochet into the next stitch. So keep repeating that until you have two single crochet stitches left on your row. Alright, so when you have two single crochets left before the chain one space, you should also be having a total of 2 double crochets left on your row before the chain one space. As you can see, we have 2 here and 2 single crochets before the chain one space. So we are going to prepare for a double crochet and skip one stitch on the double crochet row and place a front post double crochet into the last stitch before the chain one space, just like that. And then you're going to skip one stitch on the single crochet row and place one double crochet into the very last single crochet before the chain one space. And that marks the end of this side of the wing. So from here, you're going to make a chain of 1. And then you're going to remove your stitch marker. I'm going to just remove my bobby pin. And then you're going to place 1 double crochet into the very first single crochet after the chain one space. So into this one, I'm going to place 1 double crochet there. And then I'll be able to put back my stitch marker into the chain one space. And then from here, you're going to work a front post double crochet into the very first double crochet of this wing. So yarn over into the first double crochet after the chain 1. You're going to place 1 front post double crochet, just like that. Then you're going to skip 1 stitch on the single crochet row and place 1 double crochet into the next stitch. So we're going back to what we were doing here. Skip 1 stitch of the double crochet row and place a front post into the next stitch. Skip 1 stitch on the single crochet row and double crochet into the next stitch. So we're going up and down, and make sure you always skip 1 stitch. We're going to do this until we have 2 single crochets and 2 double crochets left on our rows. Alright, so I'm placing my double crochet into the single crochet row, and I have 2 stitches left on the single crochet row and 2 double crochets left on the double crochet row. So what I'll do is yarn over, go into the very last stitch of the double crochet row, and I'll place 1 front post double crochet, and then skip 1 stitch on the single crochet row and place 1 double crochet into the very last single crochet of the row, just like that. And that marks the end of row 3, and that has created texture on this side. when it comes to the back side of the butterfly wing, we don't have much texture, but the texture will become more pronounced as we go along. So this marks the end of row 3. Row 4, we are going to repeat rows 2 and 3. So remember, row 2 is the single crochet row, and then row 3 is the one that creates the alpine stitch pattern. I'm going to show you one more time so that you get the hang of the stitch. So we're going on to row 4, and remember, all even rows look the same. They are the ones that create the single crochet stitch, and then the odd rows create the alpine stitch, which is the front post and all that. So let's go ahead. We're going on to row 4. We're going to make a chain of 1 and turn our work. We are repeating row 2, remember. So chain 1 and turn, work 2 single crochets into the very first stitch, and then 1 single crochet in each of the next stitches until you have 1 stitch to the chain 1 space. All right, so we have 1 stitch left before the chain 1 space where the stitch marker is. You're going to go ahead and place 2 single crochets into that last stitch before the chain 1 space. Remove your stitch marker, chain 1, skip over the chain 1 space, and place 2 single crochets into the first stitch after the chain 1 space. Replace your stitch marker, move it into the next row, and then 1 single crochet in each of the next stitches until you have 1 stitch left on your row. All right, so we have 1 stitch left, and on top of the chain 3, you're going to place a total of 2 single crochets. Because it counted as a stitch, make sure you don't miss it. So make sure you place 2 single crochets. All right, now we are done with our row 4, and we've placed our single crochet stitches along the row. Row 5 is basically going to be the same as row 3. As I had mentioned earlier on, the odd rows look the same and the even rows look the same. So row 5 is going to look like row 3. So you're going to make a chain of 3, turn your work, and place 1 front post double crochet into the very first double crochet of the double crochet row. So down here, you're going to place 1 front post double crochet there, and then skip 1 stitch on the single crochet row and place 1 double crochet into the next stitch. And we are going to repeat. You can see now we are alternating. The stitch that had a plain double crochet from the previous row is the one that's going to create to get a front post double crochet. As you can see here, if we skip this one, which was the front post double crochet, and then front post double crochet into the next, we are going to keep alternating that stitch, and it's going to create that beautiful alpine stitch pattern. So double crochet, skip 1 stitch, front post, skip 1 stitch on the single crochet row, double crochet into the next, skip 1 stitch on the double crochet row, and then 1 front post into the next stitch. So we are going to do that until we have a total of 2 stitches, both on the double crochet row and the single crochet row, to the 2 stitches to the chain 1 space. So just watch what I'm doing and make sure you're on the same page as me. All right, now we have 2 stitches left, both on the double crochet row and the single crochet row to the chain 1 space. So you're going to prepare for a double crochet, skip 1 stitch on the double crochet row and place a front post double crochet into the last stitch of the double crochet row. And then you're going to skip 1 stitch on the single crochet row and place 1 double crochet into the last single crochet before the chain 1 space. So look how the texture has started working out. Then from here, you're going to remove your stitch marker, chain 1, skip over the chain 1 space here, and then you're going to work 1 double crochet into the very first single crochet after the chain 1 space, just like that. You can place your stitch marker back into the chain 1 space, and then you're going to go into the very first double crochet on the double crochet row after the chain 1 space. You're going to place 1 front post double crochet into that stitch, and then we go back to our sequence, double crochet, and then from the row below, front post double crochet. So you can see how the front post double crochets are alternating. There's never at any one point where we place a front post double crochet in a stitch that was originally a front post double crochet. Once you meet something like that, that means you made a mistake at some point and you need to cross-check your work, or you missed a stitch somewhere. So the front post double crochets are placed only in the double crochets that were plain double crochets from the previous row. So from here, you have 2 stitches left on both the rows, the double crochet row and the single crochet row. So you go into the last stitch of the double crochet row with 1 front post double crochet, and then place a single crochet in the last stitch, a double crochet in the last single crochet stitch, sorry, just like that. And this marks the end of row 5. So we're going to repeat these 2 rows, the single crochet row. Just rewind your video and see exactly what to do, the single crochet row and the double crochet row, until we have a total of 10 rows, and then I'll meet you back when the wing has grown to some good size. So this is row 5. I'm going to do 5 more rows and then I come back and show you what to do next. Alright guys, we are through with row 10 and this is what you should have. This is the right side of our work. When it comes to the back side, this is what we have. You can see there's not much texture going on, but when it comes to the right side, we have the Alpine stitch doing its magic. And since this is the upper part of the butterfly body, this is supposed to be the upper wing and then the lower wing. The upper wing has more stitches than the lower wing. And now we are done with row 10. For row 11, we are going to work all the way up to here. We are going to first eliminate this part. We shall come back to it later on. We're going to first work the upper wing, creating coverage for the bust, because it's the one that's supposed to create the bust coverage. And then we shall come to the lower wing later on. So let's see what to do for row 11. Row 11, you're going to make a chain of 3, just like we've been doing. Turn your work. You're now going to place a front post double crochet into the double crochet row, into the very first stitch of the double crochet row, and then skip 1 stitch of the single crochet row and place a double crochet into the next stitch. So we're going to repeat what we've been doing. The only difference is we are ending at the chain 1 space. We are not going all the way to the lower wing. So just continue working your alpine stitch until you get to the chain 1 space. So you should be working on your upper wing right now, not the lower wing. Look how beautiful the texture is. All right, so we have 2 stitches left on the single crochet row and the double crochet row. So I will go into the last stitch of the double crochet row with a front post double crochet, and then the last stitch of the single crochet row with a double crochet. Then at this point, I don't think we need the stitch marker anymore. I'll put it aside because for this row, we are going to just keep working back and forth, but ending in the middle where the chain 1 space is. So from here, this is row 11, and for row 12, you will make a chain of 1 and turn your work. Work 2 single crochets into the very first stitch, just like we've been doing before. The only difference is now we are working 1 wing at a time. So single crochet once in each and every stitch after that until you have 1 stitch left on your row. So when you have 1 stitch left on your row, you're going to place 2 single crochets into that last stitch, which is on top of the chain 3. 1 and 2. And that will mark the end of row 12. So the even rows are the ones that create single crochet stitches, and then the odd rows are the ones that create the alpine stitch, the double crochet rows. So from here, we are on row 12. So for row 13, you're going to make a chain of 3, turn your work. We're going to keep alternating between row 11 and 12. 11 is the one that creates the alpine stitch, and then row 12 is the one that creates the single crochet stitches. But remember, we always increase on the single crochet row, both at the beginning and at the end of the row. Just keep that in mind so that you don't mess up the pattern. So we're repeating row 11 and 12, 11 and 12. So this is row 13, and it should resemble row 11. So we are starting off with a front post double crochet into the double crochet here, and then skip 1 stitch on the single crochet row and double crochet into the next. The moment you get this right, then all the rest falls into place. You just continue working your alpine stitch until the end of the row. All right, so we are going to keep working until we have a total. We're going to continue working until we have a total of 17 rows for extra small, 19 rows for small to medium, for large 21 rows, 23 rows for XL, 2XL, 25 rows. So we're doing in increments of 2 rows. So we are on row 13, and I want to show you how it ends, and then I leave you guys to work until you're on your desired row, depending on the size that you're making for. All right, so we are placing our last front post double crochet into the double crochet row, and then skipping one stitch on the single crochet row and double crocheting into the very last single crochet. All right, so this is what you'll have. So we're going to just keep alternating between rows 11 and 12 until we have our desired number of rows. Since I'm working a size medium, I'll have a total of 19 rows before I come back, but keep working until you have your desired number of rows depending on the size that you're working for, and I'll meet you back at that point. All right guys, when you get your desired number of rows depending on the size that you're working for, remember I said I will do a total of 19 rows, but make sure you do the required number of rows for your size. At this point, I'll be demonstrating with a finished butterfly top. You should be having a total of about 6 inches at the base of your lower wing. 6 inches for size medium, 5.5 for size small, 5 for size extra small, so in increments of 0.5 inches. So that means for large you'll be having a total of around 6.5 inches, and then so on and so forth depending on the size that you're making for. So if you can see this, I'm not stretching my work at all, so I'm just placing it down and measuring it. So let's go on. Now we're going to, you should be on the lower part of the wing. As you can see here, the head of the butterfly is on this side, so we are on the lower part of the upper wing. So for your next row, for me that is row 20, I'm going to make a chain of 1 and turn my work, and I'm going to slip stitch into the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth, and the sixth stitch. So slip stitch into the second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth stitch. So we have all these slip stitches up to the sixth stitch, and you're going to make a chain of 1 and place a single crochet in the same exact stitch. And then from here you're going to single crochet in each and every stitch until you get to the last the second last stitch of the row. 1 single crochet until you have 1 stitch left on your row. And one thing I forgot to mention, before you start your decreases, you should be on a row of double crochets, so that your very first row of decreases is of single crochets, just like we have here. So this is a decrease row, that's why we've slip stitched in the first stitches. We want to decrease the wing so that we stop growing it. All right, so when you come to the end, you're going to place 2 single crochets into the very last stitch. So we are still increasing on the upper end of the wing, but when it comes to the lower end, we are decreasing by slip stitching into the first stitches. So this is row 20 for me, but you should be on different rows depending on the number of rows that you did for your size. So this will be row 20 for me, but it will be row 22 for large, row 24 for extra large, row 26 for 2XL, and then row 18 for extra small. So let me just explain for the medium size so that we don't get confused. So from here We are now on row 21. Row 21, we are going to make a chain of 3 and turn our work, and we are going to start with a front post double crochet in the very first double crochet of the double crochet row, just like we've been doing before. Then skip 1 stitch of the single crochet row and double crochet into the next. So this one, for this part, we are very familiar with it. We are going to keep alternating between front post double crochet and double crochet until you reach the last stitch. All right, so we are coming to the end of the row, and you can see the very first single crochet of the previous row is here, and we shall go into it with 1 double crochet after skipping a stitch on the single crochet row. So this is what you'll have. We've made an increase on the single crochet row, the previous row, and then worked our way back. So we're going to alternate between those 2 rows, and you can see what that is creating. It's creating those scallops on the lower edge of the upper wing. So we're going to continue to alternate between rows 20 and 21 until there are no stitches left. So let's see, row 20, you start with a chain of 1, turn your work, slip stitch into the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth, and the 6th stitch. From here, you make a chain of 1 and single crochet into the same stitch, 1 single crochet in each of the next stitches until you have 1 stitch left on your row. Okay, and now we have 1 stitch left. You'll go into it with 2 single crochets because we're still increasing on the upper end of the wing. When you place 2 single crochets into the very last stitch, you make a chain of 3, turn your work, and now it's time to create our alpine stitch. So you start with a front post into the very first double crochet of the double crochet row, skip 1 stitch on the single crochet row and 1 double crochet into the next stitch. So we are alternating between these 2 rows. You're going to repeat this all the way across, ending with a double crochet into the very last single crochet of the previous row. All right, so this is my last stitch, and you can see what that is creating on the lower edge of the upper wing. So keep alternating between the 2 rows, and I'll meet you back when I'm almost out of stitches. Alright guys, we've continued to make the decreases and creating these scallops on the edge of the butterfly top, and I'm still continuing to do so, but this time I'm going to slip stitch into the 2nd, the 3rd, the 4th, the 5th, and the 6th, just like we've been doing before. Chain 1, single crochet in each of the stitches until you have 2 stitches left. So I want to just show you how I end up winding up the wing. You can see how the scallops are evenly placed. They're evenly positioned. So we're going to go on to our next row, which is supposed to be of the double crochet stitches. Chain 3, front post double crochet, and then double crochet, front post, and then double. We're still repeating the same exact process as we were before, but I'm about to wind up my wing, and I want to show you what I'm considering to do the wind up. As you can see, we have the scallops going on here. You can block your work if you feel like you don't like this curve. So we have all these scallops. So we're at the end of the row. Chain 1, turn your work. Now I'm going onto the single crochet row, but before I do that, you chain 1 and then slip stitch into the 2nd, the 3rd, the 4th, and the 5th, and the 6th. So you can see where that has brought me to. It's almost at the end of the row. So I'll make a chain of 1 and single crochet into the same stitch, just like we've been doing before, and single crochet in each and every stitch until the last stitch, which gets a total of 2 single crochets. Okay, 2 single crochets into the last stitch. And this time, once you have less than 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stitches, then I don't think it's necessary for you to come back and then go back. So once you make it all the way to the end, you should make sure you end on a row of single crochets. So I've ended on a row of single crochets, and the fact that I have less than 6 stitches, or approximately 5 stitches, that's where I'm going to end my wing. Then from here, I'm going to make a chain of 250 for my strap. So you should end your row on the upper end of the upper wing, the upper end. So you can see where the head of the butterfly is. We are on this side, the upper end of the wing. So you're going to just make a very long chain of about 250 chains, and then I'll meet you back after that. All right, instead of 250, I ended up doing a total of 200 because I felt like the strap was too long. But you can go ahead and do 250 if you want very long straps to play around with at the front of the top. And if you want it to wrap around multiple times around your waistline or your belly area. So this is what we have. This is the side edge of the upper wing. And at this point, we are through with the upper wing. We are going to go onto the lower wing and deal with it as well. You can see we ended on row 10 for the lower wing, and we're going to pick it up from row 11. All right, guys, now that we are done with the upper wing, we are going to attach our yarn into that very first single crochet after the chain 1 space. Remember the chain 1 space that was here? attach your yarn in that very first stitch after the chain one space. Attach your yarn there, and then let me get the straps out of the way. They're quite long and they can be a little bit destructive. So after attaching your yarn, you're going to make a chain of 3 and work a front post double crochet in the very first double crochet of the double crochet rows. So we are working with this, the row of double crochets. So after your chain of 3, you're going to go into the first double crochet after the chain one space and place 1 front post double crochet, skip 1 stitch on the single crochet row and place 1 double crochet into the next. So we are alternating between that, the front post, and then the double crochet on the upper row, just like we've been doing before. So do that until you have 2 single crochets and 2 double crochets left on your 2 rows below. Alright, so we have 2 single crochets and 2 double crochets left on our rows, and we are going to place 1 front post into the very last double crochet after skipping a stitch, of course, and then 1 double crochet into the last single crochet of the row after skipping 1 single crochet. So this is going to be row 11. Now for row 12 of the lower wing, we are going to start decreasing. So you're going to make a chain of 1 and turn your work. Skip the first stitch and work a single crochet into the next. Work 1 single crochet in each and every stitch until you have 2 stitches left on your row. So we've made a decrease at the beginning of the row. So when you have 2 stitches left at the end of your row, we have this double crochet and the chain 3. You're going to skip over the second last and go into the very last stitch with 1 single crochet. So that means we've made a decrease both at the beginning and at the end of the row. So you skip over the second last stitch and go into the last with 1 single crochet. So that is row 12. Row 13, you're going to start off with a chain of 3, turn your work, skip the first 2 double crochets on the double crochet row. So we are skipping this one, and then we are going into the next one, which is this one, with a front post double crochet, and then skip 1 stitch on the single crochet row and double crochet into the next. So from here, we're just going to keep working our alpine stitch until there are 2 double crochets left on the double crochet row. Alright, so I've placed front post here, and now we have 2 double crochet stitches left on our row, and I'm placing I'm having also 2 single crochets left on the single crochet row, so I'll just place 1 double crochet into the last single crochet and leave this unworked. You're just going to skip over the 2 double crochets on the edge. So we are alternating between rows 12 and 13. Row 12 is the single crochet row that creates decreases, and then row 13 is this one that we've just worked. So let me just show you one more time. Row 12, you make a chain of 1, turn your work, skip the first stitch and go into the second with 1 single crochet and single crochet in each and every stitch until you have a total of 2 stitches left. So when you have 2 stitches left on your row, you skip over the second last one and go into the last one, which is the top of the chain 3, and place a single crochet there. So we've made a decrease on this row, and then row 13 is the one that starts with a chain of 3, turn your work. It's also a decrease row, so you skip over 2 double crochet stitches of the double crochet row and go into the third with 1 front post double crochet, and then go into the single crochet row after skipping a stitch with 1 double crochet, and then continue to work your alpine stitch until you have 2 single crochets on the single crochet row and 2 double crochets on the double crochet row. All right, so we have 2 double crochets and 2 single crochets, and you should end with a front post double crochet before placing your very final stitch, and the final stitch should be a double crochet into the very last single crochet of the row, of the single crochet row, just like this. So we are alternating between those 2 rows, and you can see what the lower wing is doing. It's closing up. At some point it's going to meet at a common point somewhere around here. So keep working the 2 rows and I'll meet you back when I'm almost out of stitches. Alright, so we're almost coming to the end of the lower wing, and you can see how everything is playing out, and the stretch that we have now, it's very short. So we are still continuing to alternate between rows 12 and 13 until we run out of stitches. So you can see right now I have a total of only 5 stitches on my row, but we are still going. Skip 1 stitch, 1 single crochet in each of the next stitches until you have 2 stitches left. Skip the second last stitch and single crochet into the last. Then from here you make a chain of 3, turn your work, skip the first 2 double crochets and front post double crochet into the next. And now we have 2 stitches left on both our single crochet row and double crochet row. So I'll go into the very last stitch of the single crochet row and place a double crochet, and then from here chain 1, turn your work, skip the next stitch and go into the very last stitch with 1 single crochet, and that will mark the end of our lower wing. So let's see what we have. The upper wing is curling so much, so for those people who know how to block, please go ahead and block your work. So we have, this is the lower wing, from wide to narrow up to a specific point. And now you're going to make a chain of 1. I was referring to the pattern, sorry. So you're going to make a chain of 1 and cut your yarn. So at this point we are done with one side of the butterfly top, and you can see how long that has taken. This is because the stitch is a little bit technical, and it's not the easiest of stitches. It's not the easiest approach when it comes to different stitches. So the fact that there has been increases, decreases, and all that, it has made us spend a long time on it. But now we are going to go onto the opposite side, and we're going to create the same exact look as you can see here. We have let me just place it like this so that you can get the bigger picture of what's going on. If I can zoom out. Yes, so this is the upper wing, this is the top body, the top of the butterfly head. So this is the upper wing and this is the lower wing. So that's what we have for now, and we are going to go onto the opposite side and create the second wing the same exact way that we've done this one, just that the instructions are going to change a bit. So let's go onto the opposite side and create our second wing, both the upper and the lower wing. Alright guys, now for the second wing, in order to have this alpine stitch pop on the same side as these wings here, we have to make some few adjustments when we are working this side, this other half of the top. So we're going to reattach our yarn in row 3, at the base of row 3 of the body of the butterfly. So you can see here, we have these stitches here, so we are attaching our yarn in here in row 3. So that means for the opposite side we are starting our wings from the bottom, and then for the first wings we started our wings from the top. So we are making just a few adjustments. As you'll see later on, everything will work out perfect. So you're going to reattach your yarn in row 3 at the base of the butterfly body. So attach your yarn here, and then from here you're going to make a chain of 3. This is row 1 of the opposite side. Make a chain of 3, which counts as a double crochet. Work 3 double crochets along the side of row 3 into that same space. You're going to work a total of 3 double crochets. And then work 5 double crochets into row 4. So into this space here of row 4, along the side, you're going to place a total of 5 double crochets. We are mirroring the same exact thing that we did on the opposite side. Just now the difference is we're coming from a different direction. So a total of 5 double crochets in row 4. And then you're going to make a chain of 1 and place 7 double crochets into row 5. So into this next row, we are placing a total of 7 double crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. After your 7 double crochets, you can bring back your stitch marker and place it into the chain 1 space, just like we were doing before. So that chain 1 space is the one separating the lower wing from the upper wing, because now we are starting from the base of the body of the butterfly. So this means this is the lower wing and this is the upper wing. And then from here, you're going to make a total of 8 double crochets into row 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And this should bring us to a total of 15 double crochets for the upper wing, and then a total of 9 double crochets for the lower wing. So make sure you cross check and make sure you get it right. Then from here we're going on to row 2. So from row 2 to 10 we are continuing to work the same exact instructions as the left wing. So remember the instructions that we did for the left wing. You're going to just rewind your video to row 10 to row 2 and repeat the same exact process until you get to row 10. Now the only difference is this time we're going to be at the top. So we're starting with the upper wing and then going down to the lower wing, but the instructions are exactly the same. So repeat from row 2 to 10 and I'll meet you back when you have your rows ready. Rewind this video. I'll be having timestamps in the description box below so that they can make your work a little bit easier. So just to remind you, we are going on to row 2, and for row 2 you make a chain of 1 and turn your work. Work 2 single crochets into the first stitch, 1 single crochet in each of the next stitches until you have 1 single crochet to the chain 1 space. Alright, so we have 1 stitch to the chain 1 space. You will place a total of 2 single crochets there. Remove your stitch marker, make a chain of 1, skip over the chain 1 space, and then into the next stitch you're going to place 2 single crochets. Replace your stitch marker into the chain 1 space of the new row, and then 1 single crochet in each and every stitch until you have 1 stitch left. So into that very last stitch, which should be the top of the chain 3, you will place a total of 2 single crochets. So make sure you go into it with 2 single crochets. So this will be row 2. Row 3, you're going to make a chain of 3 and turn your work. And this is the one that's going to start creating the alpine stitch. And you can see how we are on the same side with the alpine stitch of the opposite wings. So from here, after making your chain of 3 and turning, you are going to work a front post double crochet into the very first double crochet of the double crochet row. So just like we were doing before. So into the first stitch, you're going to work a front post, skip 1 stitch of the single crochet row and place a double crochet into the next. Then from here, skip 1 stitch of the double crochet row, work a front post into the next, skip 1 stitch of the single crochet row and work a double crochet into the next. So you're going to repeat that until you have 2 single crochets and 2 double crochets to the chain 1 space. So we have 2 stitches, 2 single crochets to the chain 1 space and 2 double crochets to the chain 1 space. So you will skip one stitch of the double crochet row and place a front post into the last stitch of the double crochet row, skip one stitch of the single crochet row and place a double crochet into the last single crochet, just like that. And then from here you're going to make a chain of 1 and then remove your stitch marker. After your chain of 1, you're going to go into the very first single crochet of the row, the first single crochet after the chain 1 space with a double crochet. Then you can place your stitch marker back. Then from here you're going to place 1 front post double crochet into the very first double crochet after the chain 1 space, so just like that. And then skip 1 stitch of the single crochet row and place a double crochet into the next, and then skip 1 stitch of the double crochet row and front post double crochet into the next. So I hope you can pick it up from there. I had to just clarify and show you how the stitch is going to pop on the same exact side, just because of our decision at the beginning of the opposite wing. We have to make some changes in order to have the stitch popping on the same side of the top. So I'm going to leave you to continue to follow the same exact instructions up to row 10, and I'll meet you back at the end of row 10 of the second wing. Alright guys, at the end of row 10 of the second wing, you should be at the base on the lower end of your top. So you can see this is the upper end and we are on the lower end of our top, and that's where row 10 is going to stop. Now we're going to first work where we are at the moment, which is the lower wing, and we're going to repeat the same exact instructions for the lower wing. I have timestamps, so just rewind your video to the lower wing and repeat the same exact instructions that you did for the lower wing. I'll be taking you through the very first row and then you'll pick it up from there and finish up the lower wing, just like we've done this first part of the second wing. So for row 11 of the lower wing, now that we are here at the base, you're going to make a chain of 3, turn your work, and you're going to make 1 front post double crochet in the very first double crochet of the double crochet row. So 1 front post, and then skip 1 stitch of the single crochet row and double crochet into the next. So you're going to continue to work your alpine stitch until you have 2 single crochets and 2 double crochets on the double crochet row. So remember, we are only considering the lower wing. So that means we are going to work until we have 2 double crochets and 2 single crochets before the chain 1 space. So we are at that point when we have 2 single crochets before the chain 1 space and 2 double crochets before the chain 1 space. So you're going to skip the double crochet stitch and go into the last double crochet with 1 front post double crochet, and then skip 1 single crochet and into the last single crochet before the chain 1 space. You're going to place a double crochet there. So you're going to pick it up from row 12 of the lower wing, and keep growing your lower wing until you have the same exact thing that's happening on the opposite side. So this is where we are right now. So keep working until you finish up your lower wing. Just like we have on this side, you should be having something very similar to this on this side. So rewind your video to row 12 of the lower wing and repeat the same exact instructions. Alright guys, I'm through with my second lower wing. As you can see here, we have the same exact thing going on here. So the only thing left is to create this coverage that we have for our first upper wing onto this side. So let me get back to my pattern and just see exactly what to do. Alright, so for the second upper wing, we're going to attach our yarn in the first stitch after the chain 1 space here. So after the chain 1 space, you attach your yarn into the very first single crochet of the row. And now we are going to start growing our upper wing just like we did on this side. So we're going to continue to follow the same exact instructions from row 11 of the upper wing until we reach the same exact number of rows that we had before we started decreasing. So we're going to go back to row 11 of the upper wing. So at row 11, we made a chain of 3 and worked 1 front post double crochet in the very first double crochet. So we are working into this very first double crochet after the chain 1 space. Just like that. And then skip 1 stitch on the single crochet row and place 1 double crochet into the next. And then continue to work your alpine stitch all the way up until you have 2 single crochets and 2 double crochets on the double crochet row, 2 single crochets on the single crochet row and 2 double crochets on the double crochet row. All right, we are at that point where we have 2 single crochets on the single crochet row and 2 double crochets on the double crochet row. So you'll skip the second last double crochet and place a front post double crochet into the last double crochet of the double crochet row, and then skip 1 stitch on the single crochet row and place 1 double crochet into the very last single crochet of the row. Just like that. And then for the next row, which is supposed to be the single crochet row, you're going to make a chain of 1 and turn. You're going to work 2 single crochets into the very first stitch. So we are still continuing to increase at the upper part of the top 2 single crochets, and then 1 single crochet in each of the next stitches until you have 1 stitch left. So this is row 12 of the upper wing. Alright, so once you place a single crochet into the second last stitch, into the very last stitch, you're going to go in there with 2 single crochets. So we are increasing both at the bottom and the top of the wing. So that marks the end of row 12 of the wing. So let's go on to row 13. Row 13 is going to basically be the same as row 11. So you make a chain of 3 and go into the very first double crochet of the double crochet row and place a front post double crochet. Skip 1 stitch of the single crochet row and place a double crochet into the next. And you're going to continue to work your alpine stitch. So pick it up from row 13 of the upper wing and keep growing your wing until we have the same exact number of rows that we had on this side before starting to decrease or creating scallops on the edge of the wing. So for me, I had a total of 19 rows, and this is just row 13. I'm going to keep alternating between the 2 rows until I have a total of 19 rows, and then I will come back and show you what I'll have. Okay guys, so when you have the same exact number of rows as you had for this wing before you started decreasing, so for me mine was 19 rows and then I started decreasing. So I have the same exact number of rows. I have a total of 19 rows, but this time we are going to be at the top of the wing, and that means we are going to do something different for the decreases as opposed to what we did for this wing, the first wing. So what we are going to do is make a chain of 1 and turn our work. This will be consider these the decrease rows that create the scallops on the edges of the butterfly wing. So chain 1, place 2 single crochets into the very first stitch, and then 1 single crochet in each of the next stitches until you have a total of 5 stitches left on your row. So this is how we are going to decrease on this wing. It's quite different from what we did for the very first upper wing. So single crochet until you have 5 stitches left on your row. And this should be a single crochet row. The very first decrease row should be a single crochet row. So you're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So when you have 5 stitches left, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, remember the chain 3 is also counted as a stitch. Once you have this ready, you're going to stop here. You're not going to work anything in the last 5 stitches. So this is row 20 for me. I don't know what row that you're on right now, but do the same exact process. Make sure you match exactly what you had on the other side onto this side. Just mirror the same exact process. So for row 21 for me, that will be row 23 for size large, row 25 for size extra large, and row 27 for size 2XL, and I believe row 19 for extra small. And for small medium, you should be at row 21 with me. So we're going to make a chain of 3 and turn our work. When you turn your work, you're going to work a front post double crochet into the very first, this first double crochet here, in between the two front posts. As you can see here, you're going to go down into that one, this one here, the one in between the two front post double crochets, and you're going to place one front post double crochet. And then from here, you're going to skip one stitch on the double crochet, on the single crochet row, and place a double crochet into the next. All right, so we're going to go ahead working our alpine stitch all the way up until we have 2 single crochet stitches on the single crochet row and 2 double crochet stitches left on the double crochet row. So you can see how this has played out. It has started creating the scallops. All right, when you have 2 stitches left on both rows, you're going to place 1 front post double crochet into the very last double crochet on the double crochet row and 1 double crochet into the last stitch of the single crochet row. And that marks the end of this row. This is row 21 for me. So we are alternating between rows 20 and 21. So let's see row 20 again. You'll make a chain of 1, turn your work, place 2 single crochets into the very first stitch, and then 1 single crochet in each of the next stitches until you have a total of 5 stitches left on your row that you're not going to work into. Don't forget, we are just going to eliminate them in order to create the scallops of the edge of the butterfly top. So once you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stitches left, as you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, you make a chain of 3 and turn your work, and then start on your next row that starts with a front post in between these 2 front posts. So you get that double crochet and place a front post double crochet, and keep alternating between the 2 stitches until you're almost out of stitches, just like we did for the first upper wing. Alright guys, as you keep alternating between the 2 rows, look what we have. This side is not as folded as this side, I think just because of the direction of the rows, but this side is more folded upwards. This one is more folded downwards. So I prefer this look because it's giving me exactly what I want. But yeah, we are alternating between the 2 rows and we are creating scallops because of the decreases that we are doing at the bottom part of the upper wing. So I'm going to make a chain of 1 and place 2 single crochets into the first stitch, then 1 single crochet in each of the next stitches until I have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stitches left. So I have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 single crochets. Actually, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yes, only 5 stitches left. And this time we are facing down, so you can't make a strap somewhere around here. So what we are going to do is turn our work and slip stitch into the second stitch, slip stitch into the third, the fourth, and the fifth, so that we get back to the top of the upper wing where the strap is going to be created. So since I created a total of 200 chains on this wing, the first upper wing, I'm going to go ahead and make the same exact number of chains for this upper wing as well. Remember, we are just mirroring the same exact thing that we have on this side onto this side. So I'll make a total of 200 chains and come back and show you what to do next. All right, so I have my total of 200 chains on this side as well. I'll make a cut, and what we are going to do is to get rid of all the loose ends and also cut off the excess yarn of our straps. So all the excess yarn, make sure you cut it off so that we can get a neat finish for our top. At this point, we are done with the general construction of the top, and I'm going to show you how to lace up our top in order to get a good fitting for it. So just get rid of all the loose ends that you may have using a darning needle. So just turn your work onto the wrong side, or the back side. The back side is the one without that alpine stitch texture, but if you prefer to have this as the right side of your work, you can go ahead and also wear it like this. So it can be a two-way, because the stitch that's created at the back of the alpine stitch is not that bad after all. It's also pretty. So it's textured, but not as pretty as the alpine stitch. So weave in all your ends, and I'll come back and show you how to lace up. All right, I believe I've removed most of the loose ends. So you're going to place your work at the back side like this, and you're going to get the ones in the middle of the butterfly body and just stretch them out like this. Just leave them there. And now you're going to get these two, the ones at the top of the upper wings, the straps at the top of the upper wings. They're the ones going to create the X at the back of the top. Just crisscross them like this. Remember, these ones are just forward like this. These ones are going to tie behind your neck. These two, the ones that are stretched out, these ones, they're going to tie behind your neck. But then these two are the ones that are going to create that perfect fitting for our top. So make sure you crisscross them like this. And then let me see if I can zoom out a bit so that we can see what's going on. So crisscross them, and then you're going to pass them through the base of the upper wing. Just like that. The one to this side, and then the one to this side as well. Just pass it through the base of the upper wing. So this is how you're going to lace it up at the back of your top. And then you're going to bring back this side and lace it up at the base in the corner of the lower wing, if you wish. There's some people who just leave it at that and then they just tie a knot, but you can also bring it back to this side and this side as well. Just like this. So I'll be attaching some images of people wearing this top, the people who followed the written pattern and were able to send me some images of the top. Then from here you can tie. So if you had an agenda to do this lace up, then I would advise the 250 chains. But if that wasn't your plan and you're just going to tie after attaching here so that you leave the lower wings free, then 200 chains was just enough. So from here you just make a knot at the base of your top, and this will be around the waistline. So you just make a knot there and your top is ready to wear. When you turn it to the right side, you'll have something like this going on. These straps will be at the back, so you won't be seeing them. You'll only be seeing these ones that are at the front and they tie around the neckline. So just like the top, I used a 3.5mm crochet hook, as you can see here, and we're going to go ahead and create our sleeves. So for the sleeves, I'll be giving 3 different sizes: very small to medium. Extra small, you follow the same exact instructions as small. So extra small, small, medium, same instructions, and then large, extra large, and then 2XL and 3XL should be the same. This depends on the thickness or the circumference of your upper arm. So that's what you're going to follow. So to do this, to start off, you're going to start off with a chain of 27 for the very first size. And for all the other sizes, just look on the screen. I'll be giving instructions. So start off with a slip knot, and you're going to make a chain of 27. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, and 27. So this is what your chain should look like. From here, you're going to go into the 7th chain from the hook, and you're going to place a treble crochet. So a treble crochet is yarn over twice, and you're going to count from this one: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Your 7th chain is here, and you're going to place your treble crochet. Insert your hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. So that's your treble crochet into the 7th chain from the hook. Now you're going to make a chain of 3, skip 4 chains, and 1 single crochet into the next chain. So you're going to skip over 1, 2, 3, and 4, and you're going to place a single crochet into the next chain. And then make a chain of 3, 1, 2, and 3, and you're going to place a V-stitch into the next chain. So you're going to skip over 4 chains. After your chain of 3, skip 1, 2, 3, 4, and into the 5th, you're going to place a V-stitch. And for this pattern, a V-stitch is 1 treble crochet. So yarn over twice, insert your hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. And you're going to make a chain of 5 and 1 more treble crochet into the same exact chain. Just like that. So this is a V-stitch for this pattern. 1 treble crochet, chain 5, 1 treble crochet. So you're going to repeat this: chain 3, skip 4 chains, 1 single crochet into the next chain, and then chain 3, 1 V-stitch after skipping 4 chains. So you're going to repeat that until you have a total of 10 chains left on your row, because at this point we are different points depending on the size that you're making for. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So we have our 10 chains left. And we are going to make a chain of 3, 1, 2, 3, skip over 4 chains, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and into the next chain you're going to place a single crochet. chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then you're going to skip over 4 chains, 1, 2, 3, 4, and into the last chain you're going to place a treble crochet, and you're going to make a chain of 2 and 1 more treble crochet into the same exact chain, which is the last chain. Just like that. Now we have our row 1 finished, and this should be how this looks like for the smallest size. For the bigger sizes, you'll have something totally different. So from here, you're going on to row 2. Row 2, you're going to start off with a chain of 8. After your chain of 8, you're going to turn your work, and you're going to single crochet into the very first chain to space, which is this one. You're going to single crochet into that space, and then you're going to make a chain of 3 and V-stitch into the next single crochet. So the single crochet is here. Our V-stitch for this pattern is 1 treble crochet, go into the single crochet with 1 treble crochet, chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 1 more treble crochet into the same single crochet. So I've said you chain 3 and 1 V-stitch into the next single crochet here, and then you're going to make a chain of 3 and single crochet into the chain 5 space of the next V-stitch. Into that space you're going to place 1 single crochet, and you're going to repeat that. Chain 3, 1 V-stitch into the next single crochet, chain 5, and triple crochet into the same single crochet. So that's a V-stitch, just like that. And you're going to keep repeating that until you have only this left. Now, when it comes to this part, you're going to make a chain of 3, and you're going to place a single crochet into this last chain space. Make a single crochet there, and you're going to make a chain of 3 and place a treble crochet into the same exact space. And that marks the end of row 2. Should have something that looks like this. Now we're going on to row 3. You're going to make a chain of 1, turn your work, 1 single crochet into the first chain 3 space there, chain 3, 1 V-stitch into the next single crochet, which is this one. So your V-stitch is 1 treble crochet, chain 5, and 1 more treble crochet, just like that. And then you're going to make a chain of 3, single crochet into the next chain 5 space of the next V-stitch, chain 3, V-stitch into the next single crochet. Chain 3, single crochet into the chain 5 space of the next V-stitch. Chain 3, V-stitch into the next single crochet. So you're going to repeat that until you place a V-stitch into the very last single crochet of the previous row. Sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we are placing our last V-stitch into the last single crochet of the previous row. And then you're going to make a chain of 3 and single crochet into the last chain 8 space. So into that space, you're going to just place 1 single crochet. That marks the end of row 3. We are going on to row 4. Hold on. For row 4, you're going to start off with a chain of 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And this counts as a treble crochet, chain 5. Turn your work. And you're going to treble crochet into the same exact single crochet that's attached to the chain 10. So yarn over twice and treble crochet into that single crochet, just like that. Then from here, you're going to make a chain of 3 and single crochet into the chain 5 space of the next V-stitch. Chain 3, V-stitch into the next single crochet. And by now, you should know what a V-stitch is. Just like that. And then you're going to make a chain of 3 and single crochet into the chain 5 space of the next V-stitch. Chain 3, V-stitch into the next single crochet. You're going to repeat that all the way across until you place a single crochet into the chain 5 space of the last V-stitch of the previous row. So I'm placing a V-stitch here in this single crochet, and then chain 3 and single crochet into the chain 5 space of the last V-stitch of the previous row, as you can see here. Now you're going to make a chain of 3 and you're going to place 1 V-stitch into the very last single crochet of the previous row. So yarn over twice, treble crochet into the last single crochet, chain 5, and treble crochet into the same exact single crochet, just like that. And this marks the end of row 4. This is what you'll have. Now we're going on to row 5. Row 5, you're starting with a chain of 8. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And that counts as a treble crochet, chain 3. Turn your work. You're going to single crochet into the very first chain 5 space, just like that. And then you're going to make a chain of 3 and treble crochet into the next single crochet, chain 5 and treble crochet into the same single crochet. So that's a V-stitch into the single crochet. And then make a chain of 3 and single crochet into the chain 5 space of the next V-stitch. Chain 3, treble crochet into the next single crochet, chain 5, and treble crochet into the same exact single crochet, creating a V-stitch there. And then chain 3, single crochet into the chain 5 space of the next V-stitch. Chain 3, V-stitch into the next single crochet. So that's the repeat for this row. You're basically going to do that until you place a V-stitch into the very last single crochet of the previous row. So that's the point where I'm at right now. And then from here, you're going to make a chain of 3 and single crochet into the very last chain 10 space. There, like that. And then you're going to make a chain of 3 and treble crochet into the same exact space. So that marks the end of row 5. And we're going to keep repeating rows 3 to 5. I'll be leaving timestamps behind so that you guys can follow along easily. Rows 3 to 5 until you have a total of 15 rows. For the other sizes, I'll also be recommending a number of rows, but that's totally up to you. You're going to make sure that this can slightly stretch to your arm circumference, your intended arm circumference. So for me, I'm considering, I'll be letting you know how many rows that I end up doing, but make sure the base of your panel can wrap around your arm comfortably well when slightly stretched. So I'm going to keep working my pattern until I have a total of 15 rows. But for other sizes, I have already recommended a number of rows. So row 3 to 5, follow the instructions there, and I'll be back to show you what mine looks like. Alright guys, you're going to repeat rows 3 to 5 until the base of your panel measures approximately your arm circumference, the widest part of your arm, without stretching. We don't want these sleeves to be tight, but if you want them tight, then consider this measurement a little bit stretched. But for me, I'm going to take this measurement without stretching, and I have approximately 11.5 inches. And I have done a total of 15 rows to get to that point. So I'll be recommending a number of rows for the different sizes, but always make sure you consider the measurements more than what I'm actually saying, because your stitching may be a little bit different from mine and you may need to make some changes. So make sure the base of your panel is the measurement of the widest part of your arm. That's your upper arm circumference. So once you get that measurement without stretching, and make sure you end on a row that looks like row 3. That's the one that starts and ends with a single crochet. So for me, I have a total of 15 rows altogether. And once you get that measurement, you're going to fold over your work like this, and we're going to start working in rounds. So you're going to bring this side to this side, and you're going to slip stitch into the very first single crochet of the round. Because now we are working in rounds, we are going to slip stitch into the first single crochet on the opposite side to form a round. So this is exactly what we have. And now we're going to start working in rounds in order to lengthen our sleeve. To do that, you're going to make a chain of 10, which counts as a treble crochet, chain 5. So this is round 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So after your 10 chains, you're going to turn your work so that you're working in the opposite direction of the previous row. And then you're going to place a treble crochet into the next single crochet, that one right next to the chain 10, that one. So you're going to place your treble crochet there, and that will count as our very first V-stitch of the round. From here, you're going to make a chain of 3 and single crochet into the chain 5 space of the next V-stitch, chain 3, V-stitch into the single crochet, the next single crochet, and by now you know what a V-stitch is. 1 treble crochet, chain 5, and another treble crochet into the same exact single crochet. So we've just created another V-stitch here, and then chain 3, single crochet into the chain 5 space of the next treble crochet, of the next V-stitch, sorry, just like this. So we're going to repeat that all the way around until towards the end of the row, and I'll show you what to do after that. So we're just chaining 3 and placing a V-stitch into the next single crochet, chaining 3 and placing a single crochet into the next V-stitch. So single crochet, chain 3, V-stitch into the next single crochet. So you can see how this pattern is really, really easy once you know exactly what to do. But it's also very easy to mess up in case you make a blunder. So this is what we have. We're going to repeat that all the way around until towards the end of our round, and I'll show you how to wind up round 1. So we're going to repeat our pattern until we place a single crochet into the very last V-stitch. As you can see here, we've placed a single crochet into the chain 5 space of the last V-stitch of our row. So actually round, because now we're working in rounds. So from here you're going to make a chain of 3 and slip stitch into the 5th chain of the first chain 10. So counting from the base, we have 1 2 3 4 5. Into that 5th chain you're going to place 1 slip stitch, and that marks the end of round 1. We're going on to round 2. For round 2 you're going to slip stitch 2 times into that V stitch. We haven't yet turned direction, so you first slip stitch 2 times into the chain 5 space, chain 1, single crochet into the same space, and then make a chain of 3 and turn your work so that you're in the opposite direction of the previous round. So after turning your work, you're going to go into the next single crochet with a V stitch. So 1 treble crochet, chain 5, and another treble crochet into the same exact single crochet, just like that, and then make a chain of 3 and single crochet into the next V stitch, chain 3, V stitch into the next single crochet, and that's the pattern until the end of the round. And I'll meet you back towards the end of the round to show you how to wind up round 2. So we're coming to the end of the round, and I'm placing my very last V-stitch into the last single crochet of the previous round, just like that. And now we've come to the end of the round. You're going to make a chain of 3 and slip stitch into the very first single crochet of the round, that one there in the middle of the V-stitch, this one. So that was our very first single crochet of the round. You're going to go into it with a slip stitch, and that marks the end of round 2. Round 3, you're going to start off with a chain of 10, turn your work so that you're working in the opposite direction of the previous round, treble crochet into the same exact space where the chain 10 is coming from. So I'm going to just go in there into that spot where the chain 10 is coming from, and I'm going to place a treble crochet. So that will create our very first V-stitch of the round, and then make a chain of 3, single crochet into the next V-stitch, chain 3, V-stitch into the next single crochet. And that's the repeat for our round. You're going to repeat that all the way around until towards the end of the round, and I'll meet you back at this point. All right, so I'm chaining 3 and placing my very last single crochet into the last V-stitch of the previous round, and then you're going to make a chain of 3 and slip stitch into the 5th chain of the first chain 10. So counting from the base, 1 2 3 4 5, and into that 5th chain of the first chain 10, I'm going to place a slip stitch. So we're going to repeat rounds 2 and 3 again and again until we get the length of our sleeve right from the top of your shoulder to your wrist. That's where we shall make some changes in order to do the flared sleeve. But for now, we're just repeating rounds 2 and 3. Remember, round 2 starts with 2 slip stitches into the chain 5 space before you turn your work to work in the opposite direction of the previous round. So make 2 slip stitches, chain 1, single crochet into the same exact space, chain 3, and turn your work. So that is a round that resembles round 2. And then you start with your V-stitch into the next single crochet. So repeat rounds 2 and 3 until you get to your wrist. And then I'll show you what to do next after that, once I get to that level. Alright guys, I ended up doing a total of 26 rounds, and that round should resemble round 2, the one that ends with a slip stitch into the first single crochet of the previous round. So I have a total of 26 rounds all the way from here. We are counting from round 1 up to a total of 26 rounds. But if your arms are longer, feel free to make this as long as you wish, as long as you get to your wrist level. So your arms may be longer or shorter. That's the measurement that you're going to consider. From here up to here should be from your armpit all the way to your wrist. So for me, I've done a total of 26 rounds, and my last round resembles round 2. So the next thing that you're going to do is to create the increase. So at this point, you're going to decide whether you want the flare at the sleeves, or if you don't want it, then you can just have a straight sleeve, just as you can see in this image. But if you want that cute little flare at the sleeve level, creating that bell sleeve, we are still going on. So this is going to be the increase round, and we are going to make a chain of 10 and turn your work so that you're working in the opposite direction of the previous round. And then you're going to place a treble crochet into that same exact spot where the chain 10 is coming from. So this is going to resemble round 3, but this time we are going to create increases. So from here, you're going to make a chain of 3, and into the same exact spot where the treble crochet was placed, you're going to place a single crochet. And then you're going to make a chain of 3 and create another V-stitch at the same exact point. So treble crochet into the same spot, chain 5, and treble crochet into the same exact spot. So what we've done here is create 2 V-stitches at the same exact spot. So we have this V-stitch and we have this V-stitch. So let's go ahead, make a chain of 3 and single crochet into the chain 5 space of the next V-stitch, and then make a chain of 3, and we're going to create another increase at the single crochet spot by placing a V-stitch into the single crochet. So treble crochet, chain 5, and treble crochet into the same exact spot. And the fact that we are creating an increase, we are going to make a chain of 3 and then single crochet into the same spot, chain 3, and treble crochet into the same spot, chain 5, and treble crochet into the same exact space. So we've created another increase by placing 2 V-stitches at this point, at the same exact point. So we're going to repeat that all the way around. Chain 3, single crochet into the chain 5 space of the next V-stitch, chain 3, create an increase in the single crochet, and by now you know how to create the increase. So that's all that we are going to repeat all the way around. You can see the chain on this round, and it will automatically flare out your work later on. So we're going to repeat that all the way around, and I'll meet you back towards the end of the round. In every single crochet of the previous round, we create an increase. Keep that in mind. So we are placing our last single crochet into the very last V-stitch of the previous round, and this is what you should have for your increase round. From here, you're going to make a chain of 3 and slip stitch into the 5th chain of the first chain 10 of the round. So I'm counting from the base 1 2 3 4 5, and into the 5th chain you're going to place a slip stitch. So that marks the end of round the increase round, which is round 27 for me. So from now on we are going to repeat rounds 2 and 3 again and again until we get a little length to show out our flare. So for me, I'm going to do a total of 3 more rounds, so just repeating rounds 2 and 3. So let's see. You slip stitch 2 times into the chain 5 space, chain 1, single crochet into the same exact space, and then make a chain of 3 and turn your work, and then continue to work the same exact instructions for round 2. This time we're not increasing at all, so we're just doing plain rounds, repeating rounds 2 and 3 until we get the length of the flare that we wish to have. So this is going to totally be up to you. As you can see here, after your chain of 3, into the next single crochet, which is supposed to be somewhere here, you go into it with just a plain V-stitch, 1 treble crochet, chain 5, and another treble crochet into the same exact spot. Make sure you don't miss those single crochets in between the increase point, just like that. And then make a chain of 3 and single crochet into the chain 5 space of the next V-stitch, and then chain 3, V-stitch into the next single crochet. Chain 3, single crochet into the chain 5 space of the next V-stitch. So you can see the increase point. You see how it looks like? Everything will be perfect later on as we keep working more and more rows. So repeat rows 2 and 3. This row that I'm on right now resembles row 2, and then the next round will resemble row 3, and then I keep alternating between rows 2 and 3, and I'll let you know how many rows or rounds that I will keep working, and I'll let you know also what I ended up with for my actual piece in my next clip. Right, so as you keep working, you'll see your work trying to push outwards, and that's exactly what we want. If you see it doing this, don't think that you're making an error or anything. This is exactly what it's supposed to look like to create the bell sleeve at the wrist area of our sleeve. Alright guys, I went ahead to do my 3 rounds after the increase round, and this is exactly what I have. You can make it even longer, but don't make it so long because we have already hit this spot. Now we were just creating a little flare. You can go up to about 5 rounds after the increase round. That's the maximum that you can do, or feel free to do you at this point. If you want this to be even longer, you can go ahead and just repeat plain rounds of rounds 2 and 3 until you get the length of the flare that you want. And now we are through with our sleeve. We're going to go ahead and create a second sleeve. As you can see here, we have 2 identical sleeves, same exact color, but you can feel free to do whatever you have to do depending on the look that you're going for. And now the next thing that we're going to do is to reintroduce our top. So my top is right here. As you can see here, the Alpine stitch or the Alpine Butterfly Crochet top. We're going to introduce our sleeves that we just did. And these ones are supposed to be placed on this side along the upper wing, the upper side of the upper wing, as well as the same thing on this side, so that we get the sleeves to sit comfortably well onto the butterfly top. So to do this, I'm going to introduce my 3.5mm crochet hook, and I'm going to be using a single strand to join the sleeves onto the butterfly body. All right, so we're going to start with the first side, and that's going to be this side, and whatever we do this side, we shall do on the opposite side as well. So I'm grabbing my single strand, and remember our foundation chain that we did for the sleeve. We are going to ignore that foundation chain, that one across the top part of the sleeve. We're going to join the side where we started increasing, the side of row 1 onwards. And to do that, I'm going to consider joining one row into this corner, and then the next row into this corner, and then the next row into half of this, and then here, like that, in the middle section here, and then here, in the middle section, and then here. So I'll be joining until I have a total of 1, 2, 3, and 4 scallops left, because these look like scallops, so I will not be joining 1, 2, 3, and 4, as you will see later on. So you're going to grab your yarn and your hook, make a slip knot, and then attach into the corner of the very first row of the sleeve. And then you're going to make a chain of 3, 1, 2, 3, and then single crochet on the top corner of that butterfly top, or slip stitch. You can do a single crochet or a slip stitch. So I've done a slip stitch, and then I'll make a chain of 3, and then single crochet into the next row, which is this one. So it may not be rows, but I'm just going into the spaces of the sleeve. So I've single crocheted here, and then make a chain of 3, and then single crochet into this corner or the scallop. Make sure you go into that corner with a single crochet, just like that, and then make a chain of 3 and single crochet into the next space of the sleeve. Make a chain of 3 and then single crochet into the middle point of this distance. Just get a middle point there, and I'll make a single crochet there, and then make a chain of 3 and single crochet into the next space of the sleeve, just like that. So let's see what we have so far. You can see how the sleeve is sitting on comfortably well and blending into the lacy pattern of the sleeve. So just like that, you're going to make a chain of 3 and then single crochet into the corner of the scallop here at this point. Just find the corner and then make a single crochet there, and then make a chain of 3 and single crochet into the space, the next space of the sleeve. Make a chain of 3 and single crochet into the middle of this distance between this corner and here. So just find the middle point, and then you're going to make a single crochet. After a chain of 3, you just single crochet there. And then another thing that I forgot to mention, make sure your work is on the right side. So from here, make a chain of 3 and single crochet into the next space of the sleeve. Make a chain of 3 and single crochet into the corner of the scallop. Okay, just like that. So look what we have, guys. I hope you're liking what you're seeing. Keep doing that until you run out of stitches on this side, on the sleeve actually. So it's the sleeve that's going to determine what we do. Either you run out of spaces on the sleeve or you run out of scallops. Remember, I told you we are leaving a total of 4 scallops. 1, 2, 3, and 4. That means we are joining up to here. But if your sleeve opening is longer at this point, if your sleeve opening is shorter at this point, then you're going to consider until you get to this lowest part of the sleeve. So I'm still going with a chain of 3 and then single crocheting into the next space of the sleeve. Make a chain of 3 and then single crochet in the middle of that distance between the next scallop and the base of this scallop. So you can see where the single crochet has been placed. Then from here, make a chain of 3 and single crochet into the last space of the sleeve before the lowest point of the sleeve, as you can see here. The lowest point is this one. So we've placed a single crochet into that last space and then make a chain of 3 and single crochet into the corner of the scallop, just like that. And you can see we have 1, 2, 3, and 4 scallops left. I will do one more. I just want to finish up. So I'll do 1 and then go into the lowest part of the sleeve and then make a chain of 3 and then you're going to go into the middle section of that distance. That's all. Now from here you're going to make a chain of 1. Make sure it's secure enough so that your sleeve doesn't undo itself. And that's it, guys. Look what we have for the sleeve. You can see how perfectly attached it is onto the body of the butterfly top. So we're going to repeat the same exact process for our second sleeve. Okay, we're going to repeat the same exact process for the second sleeve. So let me go ahead and do that, and then I'll meet you back to show you what to do next when it comes to assembling the top. Alright guys, we are done attaching both sleeves. As you can see here, this is so pretty. And now I'm going to go ahead and alright guys, you're going to go ahead and weave in all your tails, including the tails that we had just created while attaching the sleeves onto the butterfly body, and this is exactly what you will have. Now you're going to turn your work onto the back side and we're going to create some more straps. Remember, at the base of our foundation chain of the sleeve, at the base here, remember the first corner has landed here. Now the second corner of the foundation chain, that's where we want to attach a strap. You're going to go ahead and make a chain of about, you can either just make a chain that runs across this corner to the foundation chain corner of this side. That's exactly what I did for one of my tops, and it gave me a very good finish, because I didn't want so many straps at the back of my top. But you can go ahead and make straps here in this corner and in this corner. So I'm going to go ahead and make a chain of about 70 on this side and on this side as well. So I'm going to use a double strand to attach my yarn and then single crochet into that space and then make my chain of 70. If you don't want so many straps, you can make a chain of about 15. For extra small, you can make a chain of 10 and then you attach it on this side with a slip stitch. That should be enough, guys. I think actually let me go with this approach because I've seen it on one of my creations and it gave a very beautiful finish. So for extra small, consider around 10 chains. Medium, you're going to consider around 15 chains, and for the larger sizes around 20 to 25 chains here. But don't make this chain so long. So I have a total of 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 14 and 15. After my 15 chains, I will make a chain of 1 and then cut my yarn. So whatever length that you decide to make at this point, you're going to just keep trying on your top to make sure you haven't exaggerated this length of the chain at the back. But this chain basically just attaches the sleeves together so that we don't have another sort of tying or a knot at this point as well. This is going to be located at the top back of your top. This is what it's going to create, something like this. And then this is the back side of the top, as you can see, where we don't have the alpine stitch. Now these two straps, these ones are going to tie behind your neck. You see why we have kind of eliminated another knot at this point, because it will be monotonous. We shall have this knot at the back of the neck, and then if we had two strands to tie here at this point, you will have another sort of knot here. So that's what I was trying to eliminate. But if you want that, you can go ahead and make 2 straps, one on this side, one on this side, that you can tie. That way you have an adjustable sort of fitting if that's what you want to go for. And then you get these straps here, the ones at the top part of the upper wing, and then you crisscross them. Remember, these two are going to go behind the neck. So these ones are crisscrossed like this and then laced up into the lower corner or the lower wing. The lower corner of the upper wing. Sorry, not the lower wing. The lower corner or the bottom of the upper wing. Just like this. And then at this point, you can just go ahead and tie this to create a knot at the back of your top. If you want, you can even go through this part as well, but I prefer to leave it free. And that's basically it, guys. I hope you learned something new from this tutorial, and I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. Make sure you give it a thumbs up if you did, and don't forget to check out the written pattern on all my online shops. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in my next video. Bye guys.